Welcome back to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into something that is honestly like modern-day alchemy. We're going to explore how organizations take isolated, completely unorganized facts and somehow transform them into strategic, game-changing action. We'll be drawing directly from our source material, data to decisions, the architecture of information systems, to map out exactly how data actually drives business performance. It's a fascinating journey, literally taking us from the rawest numbers all the way up to the executive suite. Let's get right into it. Okay, let's dive into this. What does the number 42 actually tell us? Think about it. If I just handed you a sticky note with the number 42 written on it, what could you possibly do with that? The truth is, on its own, it tells us absolutely nothing. It's just a completely raw observation. You see, data desperately needs context to survive. That 42? It could be 42 bucks sitting in a cash register. It could be 42 students in a lecture hall. It might mean 42 minutes until a delivery arrives, or, worst case scenario, 42 customer complaints logged before noon. Data is really just a recorded trace. It's a footprint. It requires context, like what it represents, when it was recorded, and where it came from, just to become actual evidence. Storing data is definitely not the same thing as using data. And honestly, that's the entire foundation of what we're unpacking today. Here's our roadmap for today's explainer. We're going to cover 1. From raw data to wisdom. 2. How organizations process data. 3. Measuring business performance. 4. Systems versus technology. And 5. Connecting systems to strategy. Section 1. From raw data to wisdom. Let's move to and see how this builds. To really understand how raw records become better decisions, we use what's called the DIKW hierarchy. That's data, information, knowledge, and wisdom. Let's make this concrete with an example straight from the source. Imagine a student gets a 68 on an exam. That raw score is just data. It simply answers the question, what was recorded? Now, if you find out the class average was an 82 and this particular student missed all the questions on one specific topic, boom, you've added context. Now you have information. You've answered what happened. Next, if the instructor looks at that and recognizes that several students struggled with that exact same topic, well, that becomes knowledge. We figured out why is it happening. It's a learning gap. Finally, if the instructor decides to actually add a new practice activity before the next assessment, that is wisdom. What should we do? The organization, which in this case is the classroom, has successfully moved from a simple recorded number to an actionable, strategic move. Section 2. How organizations process data. So we've got the theory of meaning down, right? But what are the actual organizational mechanics that make this transformation happen on a day-to-day technical level? Where the DIKW model gave us the stages of meaning, the R.E.A.D framework outlines the actual technical and organizational heavy lifting required to get there. It stands for representation and retrieval, expression and experience, association and acquisition, and decision-making and deployment. Let's bring back our instructor example. Representation is the instructor accurately entering those grades into a structured database. Expression is when those grades are fed into a clean, easy-to-read dashboard showing exactly who is missing assignments. Association happens when the analytics reveal a clear pattern, like, say, students who miss early assignments consistently end up failing the final. And finally, deployment is translating that insight into a process change, like triggering an automated early intervention email. This is the actual machinery that turns your data into action.
But here's the catch, and it's a big one. None of that fancy machinery works if your fuel is contaminated. Not all data is equally useful. In fact, there are 4 absolutely critical dimensions of data quality we have to look at. Accuracy, meaning does it actually match reality? Completeness, are we missing half the picture? Timeliness, is it current enough for the decision we're trying to make right now? And consistency, is New York recorded the exact same way as NY? Poor quality across these dimensions isn't just some minor tech glitch. It completely misleads managers and absolutely destroys trust in the system.
And this brilliantly illustrates that exact danger. Listen to this quote directly from the source. The dashboard only helps people make wrong decisions faster. That is not progress. That is professionally packaged confusion. I absolutely love this because it perfectly captures a massive management failure. You can go out and buy the most expensive, visually stunning dashboard software in the world, but if your underlying data is inaccurate or outdated, all you've really done is speed up your organization's ability to make terrible mistakes.
Section 3. Measuring business performance.
To really understand the destination of our entire data journey, we have to ask ourselves, how do we actually know if our decisions are working? Performance isn't just about everyone looking busy, it's multidimensional. 2 of the most common dimensions we measure are efficiency and effectiveness. Now, they sound super similar, but they are incredibly different concepts. Efficiency is about doing things right, using your resources well, reducing waste, keeping the cost down. Effectiveness, on the other hand, is doing the right things, actually achieving the goals that matter to your stakeholders. Think about it like this. A company can have a hyper-efficient assembly line, cranking out 1,000 gadgets an hour with zero waste. But if it's a gadget that literally nobody wants to buy, they've completely failed at effectiveness. You have to measure both.
Because measuring performance is so complex, businesses rely heavily on KPIs, or key performance indicators. A KPI is just a measurable signal used to evaluate your progress toward a really important goal. Let's say a delivery company has a major goal to improve delivery reliability. A fantastic KPI for that would be their on-time delivery percentage. By analyzing all their data on pickup times, drop-offs, routes, and delay reasons, they generate useful information. If the analysis reveals that warehouse congestion is the root cause of the delays, boom, that's insight. And rerouting the trucks to completely bypass that congestion, that's the decision. If that on-time KPI goes up next month, the decision demonstrably improved business performance. That is the data to performance chain in action.
Section 4. Systems versus technology. To grasp the mechanics of this machinery and clear up a massive misconception that professionals mix up all the time, we first need to look at the input process output, or IPO model. Every single business takes in inputs, things like labor, raw materials, data, transforms them through processes like production or analysis, and then produces outputs like physical products or reports. Well, information systems follow this exact same logic. They take in raw data, process it through a specific set of rules and workflows, and output actionable dashboards or alerts.
So the crucial point is understanding this vital distinction. Information technology, or IT, is just the technical tools. It's the software, the servers, the network cables. But an information system, an IS, is the entire coordinated arrangement that actually supports the work. If a company treats a system problem merely as a software problem, they are going to fail. Buying a brand new CRM software won't fix your sales slump if your sales process is fundamentally weak, your data is a mess, and your employees aren't properly trained to use it.
This concept is perfectly captured in the 5-component framework. Every information system is made up of 5 distinct slices: hardware, software, data, processes, and people. Notice that IT, just the hardware and software, is only a fraction of the whole pie. You can have state-of-the-art servers and brilliant bug-free coding, but if your data is wrong, your processes are confusing, or your people simply refuse to adopt the system, the entire thing collapses. The people and the processes are just as absolutely crucial as the code itself. Section 5. Connecting systems to strategy.
For our final blueprint, we're stepping back to the executive management perspective to see how all this technology ultimately serves the overarching business strategy. Up at the strategic level, we look at 2 related but very distinct fields. Management Information Systems, or MIS, ask the practical, day-to-day questions. How do these systems support managerial coordination? What exact information do our managers need to run their teams today? On the other hand, Business Information Technology Management, or BITM, zooms out even further. It treats technology selection and risk management as massive strategic business investments. Basically, MIS is about supporting the managers, BITM is about investing in the right tech for the future of the entire enterprise.
And to actually manage those strategic investments, you absolutely need IT governance. Governance is the framework of decision rights, priorities, and accountability structures. It answers the tough questions like, who actually has the authority to buy new software? Who legally owns the customer data? Who is ultimately responsible for security? Strong governance is the guardrail that prevents different departments from buying duplicate systems, wasting the budget, and creating massive security loopholes. It ensures that every single tech choice firmly aligns with the organization's ultimate strategy.
Now, what's really interesting here is this core question. Does your system help the organization do what it is trying to do, or is it just making you busy? Think about the systems you log into every single day. Are they generating real wisdom and actionable KPIs, or are they just professionally packaged confusion? A system can be technically flawless, literally perfect code, and still fail entirely if it doesn't align with your organization's true goals. I want you to take a hard look at your workplace architecture this week and ask yourself that very question. Thanks so much for joining me for this explainer, and I can't wait to dive into our next topic with you.